Picture this. A glamorous hotel room, a frantic phone call begging for help, and a mysterious guest who vanished into thin air. Welcome to the chilling tale of the murder of Artemis Ogletree, the infamous creepy murder in room 1046. Join us as we unravel the haunting secrets of the fateful night, explore the bizarre clues left behind, and delve into a case that has puzzled investigators for decades. Who was the shadowy figure that was lurking in the dark? And why did this seemingly ordinary man meet such a gruesome fate? Tune in as we explore this eerie event that unfolded in Kansas City's most notorious room.
Dun, dun, dun.
I feel like you owe us two this week because you...
I'll try to fit it in.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot it last week.
It's okay. But this is cool. We did hint at this when we said it was 1046. That was the only clue. So hopefully you guessed it. If not, well, we're here. We did it. Unfortunately, Meg, this is the last one of spooky season. It's the last week of October. Halloween is coming Thursday. And the boys out of the Stay Out of the Fridge podcast here in the Beard Law Studio have a special little episode for you. Go check
it
it out.
doesn't have to be.
You just want to do spooky season all season?
All year, yeah.
I'm in. For anybody that doesn't know the voice you're hearing, it's me. It's Matt. I sometimes go by Beard Laws. You know, that not award-winning yet, but, the author that does children's book. You might, know me from that. But why you're really here is the beautiful Meg. What's up, Meg?
Hey.
Still no camera on, Meg, because we haven't hit our goal of $50,000. But either way, this is Your Town Podcast. You know this. And we're going to uncover one of the most chilling murder cases in American history. The murder of Artemis Ogletree. The creepy murder in room 1046. The story, it's filled with intrigue, unanswered questions, and eerie details that hopefully keep you on the edge of your seat. Unless you're in a chair that you could fall off, then we do not want you on the edge of your seat. Kick back, relax. Should we do the intro?
Yes.
When?
Right about now.
Okay, let's go now. This story begins in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri. January of 1935, the nation was still recovering from the Great Depression, and the country was rife with uncertainty. Amidst this backdrop, the hotel president, a bustling establishment, served as a hub for travelers, businessmen, and those seeking a night of luxury. The hotel, it was known for its elegance. But on what day, Meg?
January 2nd.
1935, it would become infamous for a murder that shocked the city. The central figure of this tragic tale is a 30-year-old Artemis Ogletree, a seemingly unremarkable man. No offense to the Ogletree or his family. He had just recently arrived in Kansas City for work, but little did anyone know that his time in room 1046 would be his last. It's the afternoon, January 2nd, that Meg just talked about. A young man named Roland T. Owen strode into the hotel president, located on what is now Kansas City Vibrant Power and Light District, requested an interior room several floors up, providing a Los Angeles address. The hotel staff recalled him as a well-dressed, wearing a dark overcoat, and notably, carried no luggage. Ogletree paid for a single night's stay, and the staff couldn't help but notice his appearance. He had a visible scar on his temple and cauliflower ear, which, a lot of fighters and wrestlers and stuff usually have that. They speculated that he might be a boxer or a professional wrestler, estimating he was in his early 20s.
No luggage, huh?
No luggage.
Suspicious.
Mm-hmm. And he had old Randolph Probst, who's a bellhop, escorted Ogletree to the 10th floor in the elevator. During the ride, Ogletree shared that he had spent the previous night at the nearby Mulebach Hotel. Yeah, we're going to go with that one. But found the $5 nightly rate, equivalent to about $100 today, too steep. Probst opened the door to room 1046, which Ogletree had specifically requested. This room, tucked away and overlooking the hotel's courtyard, offered a sense of privacy. As Ogletree settles in, he took only a hairbrush, comb, and toothpaste from his overcoat pocket, his entire unpacking ritual. After placing these items on the sink, he and Probst left the room. The bellhop locked the door behind him, handing Ogletree the key before returning to the lobby, where he observed Ogletree leave the hotel shortly after. A little while later, Mary Soptic, a hotel maid returning from a day off, began her afternoon shift. She enters room 1046. She was taken aback to find Ogletree inside. The previous night, a woman had occupied the room. Apologizing for the intrusion, she was met with his assurance that she could proceed with her cleaning. As Mary tidied up, she noticed that the shades were drawn, allowing only a little bit of a faint glow from a single lamp. This dim lighting remained a constant during her subsequent visits to Ogletree's room. She later described him as appearing worried about something, or maybe even afraid. After a few moments, Ogletree donned his overcoat and groomed his hair before stepping out. He requested that she leave the room unlocked, as he was expecting some friends shortly. Soptic complied. 4 p.m., she returns with freshly laundered towels. As she entered the dark room, her eyes adjusted to reveal Ogletree lying fully dressed on the bed. A note on the bedside table caught her attention. It read, "Don, I'll be back in 15 minutes. Wait." Let's go to January 3rd. The following morning, at around 10:30 a.m., Mary returns to room 1046. She found the door locked, which led her to believe that Ogletree had stepped out, as it could only be locked from the outside, Meg. However, using her own key, she opened the door to find him sitting alone in the dark, just as he had been the day before. But the phone rang. He answered it without hesitation. "No, Don. I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. I just had breakfast." "No, I'm not hungry," he insisted, in a tone firm. While Soptic tidied up the room, Ogletree inquired about her job, asking if she was responsible for cleaning the entire floor and whether the hotel president operated as a residential building. He once again lamented. Yeah, the rate's high at the Mulebach, and after she finished her task, she left him to his solitude. 4 p.m., January 3rd, Soptic returns with fresh towels. 4 p.m., fresh towel time. This time, she could hear two men conversing inside room 1046. Curious, she knocked on the door. A voice, deep and loud, definitely not Ogletree's, responded. "You want to do the voice or me?"
You.
"Who is it?" Was that deep and loud?
That's good.
Thank you.
Was it?
"I've brought fresh towels," she replied, but the voice curtly dismissed her with, "We don't need any." Soptic was puzzled, knowing there were no towels in the room. Mary doesn't like when there's no fresh towels in there at 4 p.m. And she had taken them herself that morning, so there was none. 2 hours later, Jean Owen, can't trust a person with two first names, checked into the hotel after spending the day shopping in the city. Feeling under the weather, she opted not to drive home late that night. She was assigned to room 1048, and her boyfriend, who worked at a local flower shop, visited her around 9:20 p.m. He stayed for 2 hours, during which she reported hearing loud, boisterous conversations, probably from the guy with the voice like this, but not only from men, women, and it was echoing throughout the floor. Owen wasn't the only guest to notice the peculiar late-night activity on the 10th floor. Charles Blotcher, the elevator operator, who began his shift at midnight, later recalled being quite busy until 1:30 a.m. After that point, the hotel quieted, save for a loud party from room 1055. But one visitor stood out to the old elevator man, a woman he recognized from past encounters at the hotel. Staff believed her to be a prostitute, a suspicion echoed by others who had been seen her visiting, male guests. During the first few hours of the shift, she entered the elevator, asking about room 1026. Just 5 minutes later, she summoned the elevator once again, expressing confusion that her client was not in room 1026, as he had called her earlier and was always present during the previous visits. She speculated whether he might be in room 1024, noting that she could see a light on through the transom window. About half an hour later, Blocker received another call to the 10th floor. The woman was waiting again. He took her down to the lobby. An hour later, he escorted her to another man to the 9th floor. 4:15 a.m. The call from that floor turned out to be the woman again. Wow, she's a busy woman. He returned to the lobby with her. She departed the hotel for the night. 15 minutes later, a call came in from a man who had come up with her. He informed the elevator man that he couldn't sleep and was going to go for a little walk. January 4th. As the clock strikes 7 a.m., Della Ferguson The new switchboard operator arrived at her shift, preparing to make a requested wake-up call to room 1046. But she noticed an indicator light showing that the phone in the room was off the hook. Randolph Props, the bellboy, who had escorted Ogletree to the room 2 days earlier, was on duty again. He was assigned to check on the room and see what was going on. He approaches the door. He finds it unlocked, adorned with a Do Not Disturb sign dangling from the doorknob. After a series of loud knocks, he heard a voice from inside instructing him to enter. However, with the door securely locked, he wasn't able to. Another knock brought the same voice, requesting him to turn on the lights, but still, he couldn't get in. He's obviously starting to grow frustrated. Props shouted through the door, urging the occupant to hang up the phone before stepping away. He returned to Ferguson, speculated that the guest was likely drunk, suggesting she wait another hour before trying again. It's now 8:30 a.m., phone still off the hook. Another bellboy, Harold Pike, was dispatched to the 10th floor. Do Not Disturb sign remained firmly in place, and the door was locked, but Pike had a key and let himself in. Guess what he found, Meg?
Oh.
Ogletree, naked, in the dark, appearing to be inebriated. The dim light from the hallway revealed dark spots on the bedding, but instead of turning on the room light, Pike approached the telephone stand and noticed the phone had been knocked on the floor, placed it back on the stand, and leaves the room. Later, just after 10:30 a.m., another operator reported that the phone in room 1046, off the hook again. Props was sent back to investigate. The Do Not Disturb sign still hung on the doorknob. This time, armed with a key, he knocked firmly and received no response. Opened the door. But what he discovered was alarming. Ogletree was on his knees and elbows, 2 feet away, his head bloodied and his body limp. Flipping on the light, Props noticed blood smeared across the walls of both the main room and the bathroom, as well as on the bed. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he rushed downstairs for help. When he returned with the assistant manager, they found the door could only be opened 6 inches. Ogletree had collapsed on the floor in the interim. Eventually, Ogletree managed to get up, and the 2 hotel employees entered the room where he sat on the edge of the bathtub, seemingly dazed. Obviously, the assistant manager immediately called the police, and they were joined shortly by Dr. Harold Flanders from Kansas City General Hospital. Upon examination, it became pretty clear that Ogletree had suffered severe injuries. He was bound with cords around his neck, wrists, and ankles, and there were signs of an additional bruising around his neck, indicating someone had attempted to strangle him. Multiple stab wounds were evident in the chest. One actually punctured one of his lungs. The brutality of the attack was further highlighted by a skull fracture on the right side of his head. Blood splatter adorned the ceiling, a chilling testament to the violence that had occurred. Dr. Flanders swiftly cut the cords from Ogletree's wrists and asked him who had done it. In a haunting response, Ogletree simply said, "Nobody." Nobody. When pressed about how he had sustained such injuries, he claimed he had fallen and hit his head on the bathtub. The doctor inquired if he had been attempting to take his own life, to which Ogletree replied, no. Moments later, he loses consciousness, was rushed to the hospital. Tragically, he was in a coma by the time he arrived, and he passes away shortly after midnight on January 5th. Yeah.
Very odd.
Very, right? So now they have to start the investigation, and Ogletree's murders revealed a perplexing web of mystery. When police entered room 1046, they discovered disturbing details. The room was disheveled, with signs of a struggle, which was pretty evident. However, what shocked the detectives most was the absence of any signs of forced entry. It was clear that Ogletree knew his attacker. First piece of evidence came from the phone cords. Ogletree had made several calls to various numbers just before his death, but none actually led to any solid leads. The police spoke with the hotel staff and guessed no one could identify anyone suspicious. One, though, intriguing detail emerges. Ogletree had checked into the hotel under a false name, identifying himself as what, Meg?
James W. McCarty.
This only added to the mystery surrounding his background. Who was Artemis Ogletree? Really? All right. Witnesses begin to come forward with strange stories. A bellboy reported seeing a well-dressed man entering a room 1046 shortly before the murder. This man was described as tall, dark-haired, and charming. Yet something about him sent shivers down the bellboy's spine. Another witness, a hotel guest, claimed to have overheard Ogletree arguing with somebody in the room. The tension was palpable. Palpable? That's a fun word to say, but the guest cannot make out the details. The combination of these accounts painted a chilling picture of Ogletree's final moments, but the identity of the man in question remained a mystery. As the investigation continued, several suspects started to emerge. The first was a woman who had been seen with Ogletree in the days leading up to his death. Described as a glamorous and elusive, she reportedly left the hotel shortly after the murder. Despite extensive efforts, police couldn't identify her or find any traces of her. Another suspect was a former associate of Ogletree's named, in air quotes, Bobby, who had been in town around the same time. Allegedly, the two had a tumultuous relationship, but Bobby claimed he had no involvement in the murder with no concrete evidence tying him to the scene. The police let him go. But one thing that just really stood out to everybody was the chilling aspects of that weird phone call that was made to the Kansas City police station a few days after the murder. The caller, a man with a shaky voice, claimed responsibility for Ogletree's death. However, he didn't offer any details that could actually lead to his capture, and the call ended as mysteriously as it began. Was it a prank? Or did it have a darker conspiracy? What do you think, Meg?
I'm going darker.
But the murder of Artemis Ogletree never solved. The police followed numerous leads, but every path seemed to just lead down a dead end. The case eventually grew cold, but it continued to haunt those who had been involved. Newspapers across the country covered this case extensively, dubbing it as one of Kansas City's most notorious unsolved murders. Over time, room 1046 became a ghostly specter in the minds of the hotel staff and guests, and tales of the murder spread like wildfire. Today, the murder of Artemis Ogletree still remains as a chilling chapter in true crime history. The mystery of room 1046 lives on, a testament to the dark corners of human nature and the mysteries that sometimes evade even the most diligent detectives. As we conclude this unsettling tale, we encourage our listeners to ponder the unanswered question: who killed him? What happened in the final moments of room 1046? We may never know the truth, but this story serves as a haunting reminder of the unsolved mysteries that lie hidden in our past.
Dun, dun, dun.
There it is. Who did it, Meg? Who do you think?
I don't know.
I'm going with the prostitute.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, but
I don't know. Do you think
I don't think so, because he saw her multiple times fairly quickly.
And no, blood all over her, nothing there, seeing her a lot. But who's Don? He's kept talking Don. It's interesting. It's spooky season. Maybe there was a dark force, a dark entity that roughed him up. Maybe, being a guy, like they said, he was a boxer, he was a wrestler. Maybe he was like a hitman or a bodyguard, or maybe somebody didn't like the work he did. But it's just weird because there's an elevator, man. Somebody was on that floor. There was a lot of people. It was loud. It was crazy. There was parties in room 1055.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, shout out to our sources. Wikipedia and Reddit. A lot of cool stuff on Reddit. We got a quote. Do you want to read the quote, Meg?
Sure. The same camera that photographs a murder scene can photograph a beautiful society affair at a big hotel. I don't know how to say that.
Ouija?
Ouija?
Let's go with Ouija. Ouija. But no, I thought that was a very fitting... Ouija. Thank you for the quotey. But thank you for joining us on potentially our last spooky season podcast. If you enjoyed it, let us know. If you didn't, let us know. But be nice about it. We have feelings. But either way, we'll be back next week. Maybe with some true crime. Maybe we'll still stick with the creepy and the spooky. But either way, we can't thank you enough. Meg, can't thank you enough either. Let's have a good rest of the day.
Okay,
cool. And hopefully everybody else has a good rest of the day, and we'll see you next week. This has been the Your Town Podcast, part of the Beard Law Studio. Go check out all the friends of the show in the description. Without them, we wouldn't be here. Actually, we would be here, but we would just, have less cool companies to help out. So that's all I got. You got anything else?
No.
Okay, gotta go. Bye.
Okay, bye.